Tekula cowered underneath me, much to my satisfaction, then ran back in the lit cavern. The one called Pluti was frozen in fear. I chased after Tekula. I saw the inside of the room for the first time, and it pulled my attention away from Tekula for a moment. Nidlight-powered crystals, everywhere on the walls and in clusters on the floor, surrounding another member of Tekula's kind. This one's face was wrinkled, presumably from age. She was lying down. She raised her head and blinked in surprise upon seeing me, but didn't look horrified. Tekula ran in front of her, wings flared, teeth bared, and all four spread apart.
Go away, monsters! I will chew the antennae off of all of you before you try taking our crystals with you!
She snarled and lunged for me. She pounced on my head, where she punched and bit. It did a little harm, but more when her teeth bore down on my left antenna. It took effort to wrestle Tekula off of me. When I did, I rammed her back into a rocky wall and kept her pinned by her wings.
Your crystals!
I yelled, exasperated.
Even the one you stole? Little Guff here is lucky that we have access to more crystals and have the technology to get them. And lucky that the sun is coming up. What if we had none of that? Would you still leave an infant Permatian to die?
At this, Tekula was slack-jawed.
Tekula, darling, did you even speak to them when you met them?
The elderly one calmly asked.
No.
Tekula replied.
How could I? They stole from us.
She looked at me furiously.
You're the one who stole that crystal. I was just stealing it back. We found it on the other side of Permata, you little fool.
Then why are you here and not there?
The Permatians are in danger, and we need to locate as many of these crystals as we can. We need them. We need them! You're not taking all of ours. And why shouldn't we? I don't see any diamond hearts on any of you. More like you want them, not need them.
Syss, wait. I think they do need them.
Guff's tone was considering and serious when his little voice spoke from behind me.
Why?
I asked. When I looked back to him, I found that there was a new group of these maned creatures on their guard, with Pluti standing on the side. He had gotten help. I dropped Tekula, turned around, and brought out my pack legs in defense. This made them all recoil in fright.
Syss, no lasers!
Guff gasped.
I think they're just trying to protect something.
Guff, how can you defend them?
I said, my eyes locked on the maned creatures trying to block the way we came from.
They're thieves. We need that crystal back.
Tekula sat next to Guff and gave me another smirk.
Do you even know much about these crystals?
You don't need the one. Yes, we do. We needed to see how long it could keep a Permatian alive. We need to know this as soon as possible. What do you mean? It can always keep a Permatian alive. What? But I hear they're supposed to die 2 days after being dug. You bury them. They don't die forever. They power up. Now who's the fool?
I looked around at the clusters of shining cyan crystals around the cavern, slackening my scowl. Wait just a second. They can recharge? I stopped looking and blinked upon realizing something that did not add up. Wait, that still begs the question. Why did you take that crystal from us, and what did you do with it? You have plenty of them, rechargeable no less.
Well, if you really want to know, I did it for my queen,
Tekula said.
And I won't tell you where I buried yours, or rather ours.
Queen? I echoed.
She is ill.
Tekula nodded to the elder from before, who charmingly waved a wing at me. I raised a brow. How can crystals heal a...
Paffillion.
Tekula finished.
They don't feed off of light.
Guff informed me. I looked at him in acknowledgement, then narrowed my eyes at Tekula.
But they're not lying.
Guff added quickly, waving both hands in assurance. Be clear with me, Guff, I groaned. You were always yapping about what's going on with me. Tell me what these people are trying to do. Guff shook his head and shrugged.
I don't know everything. I can only see feelings. I just know they're protecting something important.
There's a plant out there that treats the sickness.
Pluti explained.
purple flowers called hebines, but for some reason they're all dying. They need nidlight. They depend on the crystals for that. We're trying to collect as many as we can. We hope burying more here will restore the hebines. It's the best we've got.
Oh. Slowly, I retracted my pack legs and looked away.
See?
The queen tenderly said,
Misunderstandings are avoidable with a simple talk. Remember, Takula. Fine, fine.
Takula grumbled.
Please apologize. But
As a silent rebuke, the Paffillion queen tilted her head up. Takula sighed, sat up straight, and folded her wings closed, avoiding eye contact.
I apologize for not communicating with you better. But Queen Reina, I'm not sorry for getting you that crystal. Everyone counts. Don't let your concern for me cancel out your concern for others,
said the queen.
Look at who's with us. A Permatian. A baby one. His life is at stake without these crystals too. That's not true, and that's not fair.
Takula trotted to Queen Reina and nuzzled her mane.
He already has what he needs. The energy itself. He can get that straight from the crystals and the sun. You need something that we're struggling to get. The Urkin says all of the Permatians are in danger.
Reina reminded.
Don't you dare say we should sacrifice you for a bunch of people we barely know on the other side of the world. Please. Sickness or not, I will not live for very long. Nonsense, nonsense! You'll have another 20 years at least. Let us be reasonable. Let us share. They've got the whole world to get crystals from. They need to get their own crystals from other places.
Takula spun around and drew close to Guff.
The stupid Permatians need to get their own cave with their own crystals!
Guff was teary-eyed. I growled, gripped the back of Takula's mane, and yanked her away. I turned, held her above me, and scolded her through gritted teeth. Just so you know, you horrid little brat, I agree with you about the fairness of the situation, but your manners are wearing my patience thin. You even act like this around your sick queen. You disappoint me. Takula's anger was visibly replaced with shame. Still glaring, I placed her back down.
I'm sorry.
Guff offered, his voice wavering. I looked at him. Guff, don't—
Syss, let's help them.
The Permatian child begged. His hands gripped my shirt.
Can we get some crystals for them? Please. I know we can.
Overwhelmed and uncertain, I stuttered and shook my head. We've barely—
How many are required?
Eros asked the Paffillions, who stepped back, probably at the robotic sound of his voice.
All of them!
Takula immediately blurted in determination. Everyone looked at her. She cleared her throat.
I mean, a lot. Just a lot.
I looked to Eros. You said you've seen 180 around our last stop, right?
335.
Eros reported. Everyone gasped in amazement.
That's got to be enough to revive the hebines.
Pluty exclaimed. Guff bounced in place, hands on my leg.
Let's get them! Let's get them!
It's going to take hours, maybe days, I warned.
We won't let it take days.
Takula declared.
We Paffillions are very skilled diggers.
I brought out my drilling device and stared at it in my hand. The Permatians are already getting this freebie from us, and they don't even appreciate it yet. If we retrieve crystals for you too, Paffillions, will you appreciate it?
Yes, yes!
Pluty cried, jumping and skidding to a bow at my feet.
I will. We all will. You will be in our debt.
The others spoke up over each other in agreement.
I will save your purple flowers, thus saving your queen and anyone else who falls ill in the future,
I declared.
In return, you should promise that you will express eternal reverence for me and for the rest of my people when you see them. You will give praise and honor to the Urkin race. You will remember me as your hero. What is your name, Erkin One?
Queen Reyna pleasantly asked. I took an extra second, biting back the word Invader, which would surely tarnish my positive reputation with these people. I gave a formal and polite nod to the Queen.
Like the Permatian child said, I am Syss.
Dozens of paffillions fanned out across our last stop. Eros relocated the crystals with his X-ray, told the paffillions where to dig, and told me where to use our drill. But I stayed close to the ship, because every so often, I would need to chase a curious paffillion away from it. Guff was chatting with Takula while she dug a hole 1 hill away from the pond. I watched them closely with my eyes narrowed, not trusting that Takula was a good influence.
That's why you're good diggers.
Guff realized aloud.
The long claws on your wings. I thought you would use your hands.
Of course I wouldn't use my hands.
Takula replied while digging. Guff danced a few feet towards the pond.
Do you use your wings to swim?
Yes, but I do not swim often. I don't like contaminating our water with filth. You shouldn't use the water for fun.
Uh-oh. Sorry, Takula. Syss and I were in that water.
Disgusting.
We weren't swimming. Syss had to splash me. I was dreaming.
What do Permatians dream about?
I don't know. So far I've had 5 crazy dreams. 4 of them were just about diamonds and outer space. My last one was about Erkins.
Takula sadly paused her digging.
My dreams are usually about flying at impossible speeds, or bugs talking, or my mane falling out. But lately, they're all about our queen.
Guff's eyes widened a bit before he cringed sympathetically. It looked like he read something painful.
We'll save her,
He said, offering a smile.
I really hope so.
Takula said, resuming her digging. I already said we will, I interjected.
I will believe it when it has been done.
Takula said with impatient emphasis.
Chin up, Takula, darling.
Cooed a yellow-maned male paffillion as he approached with a patronizing smile.
You're so pessimistic about everything. It's getting quite bothersome.
He wrinkled his nose, pointed with his wing claw, then shrank it back in a mockingly feminine manner.
Diogol, you buffoon,
growled a much older male with a white mane.
I speak the truth, Marubo. Shouldn't the elders be familiar with what's true?
Do not be insulting. Takula is anxious for the queen. We all are.
Not I. And everyone else at least has their emotions in control.
Diogol turned up his nose and said to Takula,
The queen is ready for anything that is to come. You should be too. Be strong and proud. Give the paffillion race some grace and stand taller.
I blinked and drew in a quick breath at the word taller. Guff looked at me, alerted by the shift in my feelings, no doubt. Give me a moment, I said, backing away before jogging a short distance away, where I dialed for my leaders on my communicator. It had been a while since I had spoken to them. I hoped I wasn't considered overdue for an update. I saluted when I saw my brilliantly bored faces of tallest red and purple yet again. Invader Syss, reporting in. Red nodded once at me.
Syss, this better be good. Ever since we gave you, Eros, you've been acting weird. What's going on back there? Who are they?
He had noticed the scattered, digging paffillions. I stepped aside to provide a better view. They're called the paffillions, my tallest. They worship the Erkin race. They are acting as my servants. Purple wrinkled his brow, inspecting the scene behind me.
Oh, all right. So they're digging holes.
My heart throbbed anxiously as I retained my proud expression and quickly came up with a false explanation. Just a little labor, my tallest. A test for their loyalty and their worth as drones. Both leaders blinked in morbid surprise. and the paffillions have promised to respect us forever. I turned to the paffillions and called, "Everyone, meet my leaders!" Luckily, I had grabbed the attention of all of the paffillions my tallest could see. They turned to me and cheered in reply, waving with their wings and hands. One ran up to me. It was Pluty. He leaned in too close to my communicator screen, marveling at what was on it.
It's such an honor, Hyrkin Ones.
They answer to my tallest, I said firmly. Without looking away from the screen, Pluty sighed in amazement.
I'd very much love to meet you in person quite soon. If it's not too much trouble. You must meet our queen. She would be proud to meet the leaders of the one who's doing so much for us.
I blocked his mouth with a hand and pushed him away before he could say something that would definitely get me in trouble.
Do not overwhelm your tallest, peasant. Keep working, we don't have much time.
Pluty recoiled frightfully, nodded, and ran back to his digging hole.
Right. Forgive me, pardon me.
I had kept my words simple to make sure everyone around me misunderstood. Pluty thought I rushed him for the sake of his dying queen and dying flowers, while my tallest thought I was talking about the invasion. What none of them knew was that both reasons were true. Satisfied with my assertiveness, Red smiled and took a sip of the pink drink in his hand.
Now this is what I expected more of, Syss. Glad to see you coming around. We were starting to think you were too sensitive and, well, pathetic for this.
Purple said with a small hand gesture. Trying not to display too much shame, I bowed my head. Apologies, sirs.
If you keep this up, you can make up for earlier's non-compliance.
Red said.
Are you almost ready for the Armada to strike?
Nearly, I said, biting back the fear and hesitation this time.
Fantastic.
Red sneered and sipped his drink again. Within the next few hours, there were piles of crystals next to each hole. This lifted Takula's spirits, and she further warmed up to Guff and I. She was still a tease, but in a bearable way. At one point, a pink-maned paffillion was chased by a colony of large, flying, stinging black insects called rits. When I helped fend them off, I barely had to lift a finger. They reacted to only my presence, retreating the second I got near. Takula laughed and commented that the Rits knew I was a scary Urkin, though I theorized that there was something else that repelled them, perhaps a scent. Soon after that, Takula started and encouraged what she called a dirt fight. I could barely recognize the participating paffillions by the end of it, with them powdered and brown from head to toe. Guff had gotten caught in the crossfire and was in sneezing, coughing, and laughing fits. And then later, Guff and Takula got distracted again, and made up a game in which Takula was a Vajra, chasing after Guff. I pursed my lips as I watched, because I felt that a game like this should have been taken a little more seriously than our snowball fight. Takula, playing as the Vajra, shouldn't have been laughing herself or tickling Guff. If Guff ever asked me to play this game, I would make a more convincing Vajra, and I would better help him improve his fighting and stealth skills. Every paffillion carried their own armfuls and wingfuls of crystals on the way back to their home. I helped, transporting many in my ship, with the window shut to prevent losing a single one. Guff and Eros rode with me as always. Takula flew next to us, making ridiculous faces to make Guff laugh. It was completely dark by the time all of the crystals were buried underneath the soil of the Hebines at the pavillion's home. Guff and I were saying our goodbyes when Takula suggested that we stay a moment longer, sitting around a built fire to celebrate our hard work and the beginning recovery of the Hebines and the Pavilion Queen. I tried to politely refuse, but Guff pleaded for us to accept. With an eye roll, I snorted and gave in. I left my ship parked close by as Guff circled the fire and rambled to everyone about our adventures, crystal in hand to protect himself from the dark.
Must you blurt out our entire personal history?
I groaned at one point. I was lying on my side, staring up at the stars with Eros.
This part is cool!
Guff reasoned with his big grin. With dramatic body language, he continued.
So, Syss chased me up the mountain. I knocked down a big ledge right over her. It got her so bad she fell to the bottom. I was so scared. She didn't move. I thought I made her die.
So you were stunned by this wee one.
The old paffillion named Marubo stated in a monotone.
I wasn't stunned.
I objected, too defensively. Guff misjudged the situation and panicked.
Was that the cool part?
Takula inquired.
No, of course not.
Guff said, shaking his head vigorously.
I was really scared. I almost cried. I'm really sorry about how dangerous I made that. Breaking the mountain. But something was under it. More snow came crashing down. It was loud and crazy. And after that, we saw that it was
He paused, then cried out.
a pink diamond mountain! And you know why that's so cool? Nobody has found another diamond mountain in like 1,000 years! We just know that they're in other places hiding somewhere. It takes forever for one to form, and there are millions of mountains on Permata to look in. So, now there's a diamond mountain on the bottom of Permata! I wonder if the Orgos like it. Uh-oh. Did I say something wrong?
Guff's attention was now on Marubo, who looked very agitated. The old paffillion looked around rapidly, stood up, and walked over to me. He touched my arm with a wing claw to coax me to get up with him.
Excuse us,
He told the group. Confused, I followed him until he was comfortable with the distance between us and the fire. Eros followed behind. What's the matter? I asked Marubo. Scooping up a handful of soil, he responded gravely.
I fear that I now know what's wrong with the flowers.
I blinked at him a few times in interest and confusion.
You fear that? But it's good that you might know. That means we can come up with more solutions and waste less time to fix this.
Marubo looked straight at me.
You don't understand. This is your fault. You and the child did this.
I recoiled a little at the accusation, blinking more furiously.
What? I beg your damn pardon? How can you say
The
we—
light underneath our land has been stolen by the new diamond that you've awoken.
Marubo explained. He sat down.
Now that it has been broken free, it is energized and functioning. A diamond mountain attracts the energy that flows in the planet's core. It was enough that 1/3 of it was already packed against the other side where the Permatians' 2 diamond mountains are. And now that there's another one of them on the south side, another large fraction of the power is drawn away from our side. That's why it has been suddenly weaker. The power flow is not evenly distributed.
My breath caught in my throat halfway through this explanation. Marubo generously allowed me to take my time responding, knowing I needed a moment to let the information sink in. I heard Guff and Takula laughing from afar meanwhile. I slowly looked at Eros, then at the horizon. I took a quiet, deep breath. Is there a way to balance it out? Perhaps an unborn diamond mountain on your land somewhere? Marubo sighed, stepping into my peripheral vision.
That would be the perfect solution, but you heard the Permatian one just now. We would need to be very lucky to have a diamond hiding under one of these bundles of ordinary mountains. It takes 15 centuries for a diamond mountain to form, and the search for one would take many lifetimes.
I looked away in thought, clenching my fists.
I'll go find one. Me and Eros. And would you please let Guff rest in the cavern with all the—
My eyes widened.
Oh no. Wait. The crystals aren't evenly energized either, right? The Permatians. And Guff.
I looked over to the fire. Guff was circling the fire again, hugging a crystal with a big smile.
I don't trust half-charged crystals. Or overcharged crystals. This needs to be organized better before we resume digging. Eros, come on.
I stepped towards the ship.
I don't believe the crystals are as ruined as the flowers.
Marubo said.
Guff should be fine.
I stopped in my tracks, shaking my head. I won't take that chance anymore. I've put him at too much risk already. He deserves better, as a loyal supporter of the Irken race. And as my friend. I tried not to think about what the tallest would do if they heard what I said. If they found out all of what I was doing, I would be re-encoded as a service drone or something. I wondered if any of the other hundreds of invaders had this kind of conflict with their own enemies, making friends with them by accident.
Syss? Syss, wait! Are you leaving?
Guff was coming, alarmed that Eros and I were about to hop in the ship. Guff, I quickly turned around and held out my hands in reassurance. No, I'm not leaving. Eros and I just need to look for something. It's very important, okay? It could help a lot. Guff's hard stare was familiar to me at this point. He was reading me, brow furrowed in worry.
Syss, what happened? Something happened. You were different by the fire. Marubo too. Can you say what happened?
Later, Guff. You should get in the cave. I want you to stay close to all the crystals you can until sunrise. Or until I find another diamond mountain.
A diamond mountain? I want to come!
Not this time. Not yet. We've pushed your luck far enough now. You need a diamond mountain, and so do these people. You're safer in the cave than out here right now, alright? And I know you're due for sleep. The mention of sleep caused Guff to yawn.
Okay. But... okay. Okay. Yeah, you're right. I hope you have fun.
Not without you. I lightly scoffed. I looked ahead at the paffillions and their now dying fire. I should tell them what I'm doing too. Eros and I walked back over, but Guff beat us to the paffillions.
Syss is going to look for a diamond mountain for you!
He immediately announced. The paffillions exclaimed and murmured in surprise. Takula's face contorted in an incredulous sneer.
Crazy? What are the chances that you will find yet another diamond mountain? Your ego must be the very size of one, yeah? She's Irken!
Pluti pointed out in my defense.
She has abilities that we don't. It makes some sense at least. Are Irkens better diggers than us?
Takula challenged. Probably, I replied shamelessly, then explained. But all I have to do is have my comrade Eros look through every mountain we fly by. You've seen for yourselves how he finds the little crystals. Paffillion smiled and murmured in hope. Guff had been touching my leg with one hand. I didn't think much of it until he hid behind me. When I tried to step away, he hid behind me again, watching something uncomfortably. I tried to track what it was. My first quick guess was Diogol, the eccentric yellow-maned paffillion, and the only one who wasn't speaking or even moving. His ugly face was disturbingly blank. He was looking at me. I glared to visibly tell him he was being a bother. Very, very slowly, he dipped his head down and blinked a few times, but he didn't break eye contact like I was hoping for. Does this Diogol character always stare like a lunatic? I spat aloud for everyone to hear, with the intent to make Diogol back off.
Yes, he's a lunatic.
Marubo sing-songed dully. Takula chuckled and played with Diogol's mane.
Excuse him. He's always communicated strangely. Maybe he doesn't believe in you.
What I believe is that it's rather inappropriate for you to be bringing up everyone's hopes like this.
Diogol said slowly, his head tilting sideways at almost a 90-degree angle.
There is no diamond mountain. We haven't found a diamond mountain, and you will not find a diamond mountain. There is no diamond mountain.
I shrugged and folded my arms.
Well, I suppose we'll find out.
You're our hero, Syss.
Pluti hailed, still bubbling with tender gratitude. I appreciated the appreciation, and I appreciated the word hero.
Syss, could you walk to the cave with me?
Guff asked, tugging at my shirt. I looked down at him.
All right then.
But let's be quick. Eros and I should get to work as soon as possible. Guff stepped back when I started to walk, and then he started his wings. Eros stayed behind as he knew I wanted. I did not want our ship left alone, surrounded by a colony of foreign creatures, one of them being a troublemaker, and another one a creep. Are you afraid of the cave? I questioned Guff 30 steps later.
No.
Guff said, drumming his fingers on the crystal he was holding. Now you're the one who's acting different, I mentioned.
Yeah, there was just something weird.
Diogo?
Yeah.
At least he's no Vajra, right? He's not worth the trouble, Guff.
Well,
What is it? Guff, what's the matter?
he feels not like a Vajra, but like he's...
Part of the reason for Guff's current struggle to find words may have been that he was sleep-deprived, but seeing him struggling this much after what just happened was concerning to me. He had read something disturbing. Diogo did seem unhinged, I said as we entered the cave. You've never met anyone like that, have you?
He has different feelings about this place than the other paffillions.
Guff said.
They're all peaceful, and Diogo isn't. It feels like he wants something that no one else wants. And it feels like he's holding big, weird thoughts. I don't know the thoughts, but Syss, I don't think anyone knows about how he is.
They seem to know him well enough. They just acknowledged that he's strange.
But they can't see what I saw. They couldn't see that his feelings got crazy when we started talking about finding another diamond mountain. And they couldn't see that he just lied.
We had reached the room where we had first met the paffillions. Queen Reyna was lying in her favorite spot. She was asleep. The dim blue light allowed me to see Guff's grave expression. He lied? I echoed. Guff slowly lowered himself to the rocky ground.
Yes.
When he said there's no diamond mountain?
Yes.
I stared ahead at nothing for a very long moment, struggling to process the meaning of this.
What are you going to do?
Guff asked as he snuggled up against the Queen's body. While shaking my head, I felt my face contort in a terribly confused and frustrated grimace. Finally, I growled under my breath, then told Guff, instead of wandering around for the solution for hours, I'm going to pry it out of that freak's mouth in seconds. Stay here. With fists and gritted teeth, I walked back out of the cave, ready for an interesting confrontation. Something else interesting happened. When I returned to the fire, Diogo wasn't in sight, and everyone was clueless as to where he had gone.